All right, so as I, got my blade, the blade for this, this is a leather splitter. I got this all nice and sharp and absolutely beautiful. It is laser beam sharp at this point. I want to, well, I need to do a few other things. This roller here needs to spin a lot more freely than it does. I actually have to put a little effort into turning it. Now these have to sit down there and hold this in place, and if I loosen them up, it still doesn't turn like it should. It is a solid steel roller, but it is not on bearings. There's a few things that I can do to make it turn a little easier. I can polish the shaft, and I can polish where it sits. Okay, it rides just inside of a groove here, and I'll zoom you in a little bit here when I get to that point. So you spin it around this way. It sits inside of a groove, and that, it needs to ride kind of with this. So you push the handle forward, slide your leather through under the blade, pull it through, pull your leather through. So the blade is going this way. Do I remember that right? No. Blade's facing this way. You push forward on the handle, you pull your leather through, splits the leather down to whatever you got it set at. What I'm going to do is take all of this apart. I'm going to clean everything first. I have some silicone spray. It's called fluid film, and it works really well. You can put just a light coat of it on certain spots, and it'll make things slide a little bit of a lubricant. Also a rust preventative. I dropped this. The knob broke. It's usually a much bigger knob. It doesn't really get tightened down that tight. So I'm just going to kind of trim everything off, just make it just a plain old knob. I'm not going to buy anything to fix it. But I'm going to take this all apart. We get the metric set. Now, of course, I loosened that spring lost tension here. There's a spring here. On the other side, that lost tension. No, everything's loose, which is fine. That's what I needed it to be. I'm just going to lift these off. I'm kind of putting everything right in front of me here. That way, I can keep track of how everything goes together. Now this will just lift right out. Very oily. The farther I got taking it down, the more oil it seemed to have on it. So I guess when you're shipping from China, you gotta have plenty of oil on it. Coming over the sea and such. Did get that little block off that was over here. Boy, that was a bugger. That was one tight screw. It was kind of rusted on the bottom. These pieces come off, but I'm not going to take them off. These uprights. Might be nice to chuck them in the vise to work on them, but I don't think it's going to make that much difference. I'm going to take a little bit of 220. Rolled up on my coat hanger, I think is going to be a good choice. And just kind of get up and down in the grooves here. I'm just going to go ahead and most of what needs to be done is the sides. I don't know that the camera is going to pick this up, but inside here there are some pretty harsh grooves, and I know those are from the machining process. They're not from anything I've done to it. So that's kind of what I'm trying to reduce those a little bit. I'm not going to be able to get rid of them, but I can reduce them. As far as this goes, I think I'm going to chuck it up in my drill, spin it, and just kind of hold some. I'll probably start with 400 grit. These aren't too terrible. So I'll start with probably 400 grit and then work up to at least 1000 grit. Don't need to be perfect, but I can just feel the roughness on them. So I'm going to work on this a little bit, 15-20 minutes, and then I'll be back and show you what my result is. Hopefully you can see in there, it's a little bit better. Actually, I think it's quite a lot better. Got most of those grooves down. I didn't want to go too terribly far because this still has to fit in there, and I don't want a lot of play. Right now, it's quite acceptable. Oops. You back in the camera. This still has to fit in, and I don't want a lot of play in that. Very little in there now. I want to keep it that way. I still gotta smooth that out a little bit, which I don't expect a whole lot of trouble. Like I said, I'm gonna chuck that up on my drill wherever I put that. I'll find that and I will smooth that out. I'll probably start with 400 grit and smooth that out. I only went to 600. This is only done down to 600 grit in there, but I think it came out pretty good. I'm happy enough with it. This is not a precision piece of equipment, but it does need to do a job, and I need it to do that job well. That's why I went through all the time of sharpening the blade. The blade took me probably 4 or 5 hours to get it to where it's at, and it's very sharp right now. So I'm pretty happy with that. Not quite hair popping sharp, but I think that might be too much for that. Anyway, I'm going to get onto this and I'll show you how I'm doing that. I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to work some 600 grit in there. You can see how it comes off on your hands there. Not a bad thing, not a good thing. Just kind of gotta, hopefully it'll wipe off with a rag. Soap and water if nothing else. I'm going to grab some 600. We'll get it down to at least 600 grit. Got that down to 600. There are still some marks in there, but I can't really feel them. I can see them, but since I can't feel them, I don't think they'll hurt anything. I'm going to give that a little wipe down with some 91% alcohol here, mostly because I just happen to have it sitting on the bench. And I'll do the same in these places where that roller sits. And the alcohol just, it dries up real quick, so I like that. Alright, now that that part is done, we're ready to, I think, start putting this back together. That was the main thing I wanted to address was this piece being rolling nicely. Inside where this shaft goes, I'm just going to put some in there. Down through here. And a little of this seems to go a long way. There should be like some kind of a plastic washer that goes in here somewhere to kind of smooth it out between the two metal pieces. If I was smart, I'd make something. I'm just going to kind of hold this here. And it's actually a good spot for my poly mallet. That should do that. Tighten down that set screw before I forget. So that there is what the bottom of these looked like. So I just kind of went down to 600 grit on them, flattened them out nice, so that because they ride up against this roller. Now the last thing to put on is this tensioner, and there's a pin here that goes right into here, just like that. And this just screws in. And it had that big, it was a big wheel on there, but really it doesn't take much for tension on there. I don't like a whole lot of tension on it. I like to control my tension with the handle, which just slips on and doesn't really stay on all that well. So I'm going to screw these down till they touch the wheel or the roller. So now we'll take these two out. And I'm actually going to loosen these back up. Carefully. Set my blade on here, and there is some, I don't know how you want to put it, some debate as to how you set this blade. Some more of this dust off of here. The way I've done it is I just kind of And even when this comes, when you get this machine new, I'm going to be really careful because the blade's still sharp. It's not as sharp as this one is, but it's still sharp. I'll run the blade up until, with the roller all the way to the top, I'll run it in until the blade just kind of touches that roller. And that way I know that the blade is going to be straight with the roller. Or at least it should be. Try to look at it. You can certainly take a flashlight and shine it from the back. Everything should be straight at this point. And keep in mind, this is just how I do it. Alright, I got a piece of 8x9, just a veg tan strap. Kind of tested it a little bit so I could remember how to use it. I don't use it a lot. Use it when I get in some belt blanks so that I can trim the ends to what I need. Usually only when I get the 11 to 13 ounce. 8 to 9 I leave at 8 to 9. So you want to pull your handle back, run your piece in there, and it's 6-inch blade, so you got plenty of room to stick her in there. And it used to be quite a struggle with the veg tan. You want to hold your pressure forward on the handle and just pull. That just takes some off. So it probably took not a whole lot off, but some. If it's not enough, just simply loosen your jam nuts. I wouldn't go any more than a quarter of a turn at a time. Doesn't take much more off, but a little bit until you get to where you want it. You know, if I want to take even more off. If you go far enough, it'll take it right down there. Now it wouldn't do that before because it just couldn't skive that thin. With the sharpening that I've done on the blade, it does a really nice job. This is some chrome tan. Chrome tan is notorious for not being able to run through something like this. And this is fairly wide, about 4 inches or so. I'm going to come down a little farther with it. Let's see if we can skive down some chrome tan. Oh, maybe it went too far. I'm going to have to go a little more than that. Once more here. I went through. Had to work a little more at it, but this stuff is really notorious for not being able to skive. I'm pretty excited about that. Chrome tan is just hard to skive, especially when you aren't looking at that wide. So it worked. I may have to touch up that edge a little bit after running that veg tan through there, but I'm calling it a success. There you go, folks. Wrap up on the Tandy Craftool Pro Splitter Skiver. I've had this one about a year. It's been a long time coming getting this kind of work done on it, but I've been busy. I just finally had this video has been 3 weeks in the making. Just kind of working on it when I had a little extra time. So it's been a while, but it's done now. It's working really well. It's working a lot better than it was. When I get my belt blanks in, my belt blank straps in, I'll run them through there all at once. I'll set it up, because I set it up today with just a couple of clamps holding it to the bench. I was screwing it down to the bench because I got a couple of holes over here where I just bolted down. Run my blanks through there, put them up, they're all ready to go. Can't always take the time to do one at a time, so I just run them all through. I buy them 5 and 10 at a time, so it works pretty well now with the nice sharp blade. I was just kind of touching up the edge of it, run my blanks through, and I'd have to do it every time I'd run them through. Sometimes I'd have, if I was doing 10 and 15 at a time, I'd have to stop and then, you know, kind of touch it up in between. Hopefully this will stay sharper longer and I won't have to dink around with it too much. But I will put affiliate links down below. The affiliate links help out the channel when you use those to purchase a piece of anything from my Amazon store. So check those out. And anything else? Nope. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, like button, comment. I like comments, I really do. And thank you all so much for subscribing to my channel and watching my videos. You don't know how much I appreciate it. It helps me out, it helps my family out, and it's very much appreciated. Don't ever forget that. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe. God bless. And I will catch you in the next video.